Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday afternoon, September the 27th, 2020. I hope everyone is doing as well as possible. Welcome to the show. This is going to be my weekly methane and sea ice update for YouTube and climate roundup. So, if you haven't watched the show I did yesterday and uploaded, make sure and watch that. It's real different. It was part 2 of something I started almost a couple of years ago. Has to do with the government and plans of controlling the whole Earth system. And it's not just the U.S., it's all the governments around the world. So, anyway, this has been in the works for a long time. So we don't know what's real and what's not real, and, how much AI is controlling things, and, it's a whole big mix. So, in any event, we'll just look at the data that we have access to and go from there. So we're going to start with the NOAA data that I'm tracking it on a daily basis now, but I show it weekly here on YouTube. Now here is the 477/469 millibar reading for yesterday, the 26th, for the Met-1 satellite in the morning. The mean or average was 1911 parts per billion, and the high reading was 2425. Now the range, this pink range, this bright pink color, the range is between 2000 and whatever this highest number here in this range on each of these pictures. So it's different on each one, but the full range is between 1508 to 2425. So 1508, well, it's underneath my thing there. Anyway, it's in that orange range up to the pinky color. So here's the Met-1 satellite in the afternoon. The mean was 1915, so that's up, and the high reading was 2391. On the Met-2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1893. The high reading was 2368. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1895, and the high reading was 2370. So here's the chart, and here's where we're tracking the weekly numbers. So here it is for the 26th, and in this cell are the means that I just called off, added up and divided by 4, and we come up with an average of 1903.50 parts per billion, which shows a pretty good increase over last Saturday of 3.75 parts per billion. So here's the chart. We can see the line going up here. That's for this week. And it went down last week. On my report last week, it had gone down 1 part per billion, but it had gone up the week before 2.5. So we're still in the acceleration time until about the middle of October is when methane is on the rise traditionally. We'll see if it starts going down the middle of October this year or not, and we'll see what happens. We're in no man's land. So I've been tracking this since March of 2019 is when I started, and so when the year started over, and on February 29th, our change since February 29th or March 1st of this year has been an increase of 27 parts per billion, and the change since March the 1st of 2019, since I first started, has been a total increase of 46.25 parts per billion. And here is where I've been tracking it on a daily basis. I show this in my Subscribe Star videos for my members over there, and if you're not a member of my Subscribe Star channel, the link is below in the description box if you'd like to check it out. I have a small community over there, and I post almost every day. I've been able to post every day for a while. It's like my documentary of the end, and I go into what's going on in my life and different stuff, but I do methane every day, and sea ice, and climate roundup, and present articles, and do a Bible reading. And you know, people have access to private message me. We communicate by private message, by commenting. It's a small community, but it's a place where we can be safe and not be trolled, and just it's a protected space is kind of how I see it. So anyway, here we can see what happened. Here was last Saturday the 19th, where it's 1899.75 in my last report, and then on Sunday it went up 2 parts per billion. That was a sharp increase. And then on Monday it went down 0.25. On Tuesday it went down 1 part per billion. On Wednesday it went up 1.5. On Thursday it went up 1.75. On Friday it went up 0.5. And on Saturday it went down 0.75. Now we had a couple of days where we had some questionable readings. The information, there was a lot of white area on the NOAA picture, which means missing data. But I went ahead and took the reading, and because it looked like it could be within range, and now we're seeing things that are. We're seeing readings on the Met-1 satellite. It's between, it's over 1900. It's between 1911 and 1916 parts per billion. And on the Met-2 satellite, it's up over 1890. Now it's between 1893 and I think one day it was here it was 1896, and so forth. So it's going up. They both have just shot up this week, and so we're in no man's land. This is the hottest methane has been. So the hottest it got was on the 25th. We saw the reading of 1904.25, and that's the highest it's been since I started doing this. And so it went down slightly for our report for today, but it has been up to 1904.25 there. But so we're showing a weekly increase again of 3.75 parts per billion, and it really started shooting up this year on February the 8th, and since then it's gone up 40.25 parts per billion. So that's insane. It's crazy. And we'll just see what happens. But last year, it peaked out on October the 12th. October the 12th, it peaked out at 1885.75. And we're way above that, 1885. So let's see. This one minus this one. Right now, we're 17.75 parts per billion higher than our highest reading last year. And we haven't finished. We'll probably be at least 20, maybe more. We've got a couple more weeks. 3 more weeks for it to peak out. So we'll see what happens. So there's that. Now let's run the CAMS data. This is Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services. I use this website a lot. This is out of the EU. Here's the methane forecast. They have the Sunday data up too, but we're just going to run Saturday so we can get a good comparison between the NOAA data and the CAMS data. I have the Arctic view and surface level pulled up, ready to go. Here's the color ledger, and here's where it left off on Friday with the Scandinavian area is really coming back to life, filling up with methane, and starting to see a big release pour out across the Barents Sea and the Kara Sea. And here in Russia, it's still releasing and coming out. It's been coming out across the Laptev Sea and this East Siberia Sea, and spreading out all the way across the Arctic. You'll also notice that it's filled with this dark green. That's the kind of the background color for the whole Arctic region here. And this dark green is 1920 parts per billion. That's this color here. And then as it gets lighter and lighter and lighter, it's getting higher in the readings until like this yellow green is like this yellow green right here. That's 2000 parts per billion. And then this yellow is 2020. Then when you're getting on up into the gold, like the gold is 2060, the orange is 2080, the bright red is 2100 parts per billion, and then it keeps going as the red gets darker. And this, I call this black sometimes because it gets so dark it looks black, like here off the coast of Maine here. Anyway, that's a range between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion. And sometimes we'll see white spots show up in the middle of the really dark, and that's where I've decided that that's where it's higher than what they can record. It's higher than the 10,000 parts per billion. And we see that there's an area in China that pops up here by Beijing that continuously pops up like that. And we're still seeing high releases here by Serena Zemlya. This has been a constant since January of this year. So I think a rift has opened up in the seafloor there. So let's just run this movie, and we can talk some more as it progresses. The data is for Saturday, and the forecast runs Sunday through Wednesday. So, in the forecast period, look at this wave just moving out, this really high release coming out from Tuesday and Wednesday all across the Barents Sea. Look, here it comes, and into the Kara Sea. And there have been studies and articles about the very high methane deposits in the sediments here on the coastline in the Barents Sea, and they're really worried about methane being released here. And considering this never refroze, the Barents Sea never refroze during last winter, and so this and then it's been, of course, ice-free during the summer, and this whole coastline, the Russia coastline, has been ice-free for months now, and so the water has been absorbing heat, absorbing radiation and heat from the sun, and heating up the sediments, and now it's heating up the air and all of that. So it's causing a huge problem. And they said the official report is that the minimum extent of the Arctic sea ice was reached on September the 15th. And I've got a report that I'm going to share on that. And so the edges have started to come back out. It started to thicken up a little bit. And but Sam Carena is worried that we've got some 2-meter temperature anomalies, that are going to be really high coming over the Arctic in the next week or so, next 10 days or so. And he's wondering if the Arctic sea ice will be able to refreeze even with the high air temperatures that are coming out, and it's warming from beneath as well. So this whole thing with minimum extent and all that, it's just kind of a joke, because you got to look at the volume and thickness and the whole thing. It's not just a little skim. It's just, I don't know, it's complicated. It's complicated, and you can be deceived into thinking that it's better than it is, and it's really not. And we're starting to see huge changes in the weather patterns in the jet stream and the oceans and everything as a result of the sea ice breaking down. And we're getting the effects of a blue ocean event, even though we still had some sea ice up there. It didn't go away completely, which is a good thing, and we're not in El Nino, we're in La Nina, and we're at the end of the solar minimum, meaning we didn't have a whole bunch of sunspots to deal with. And Sam Carena explains all of that in his latest blog post that he keeps updating, and I wish he would just make a little note up at the top whenever he updates it with new information, so that we know to go back and look. Otherwise, because he does it all the time in typical Sam Carena style, he'll keep updating a single blog post for a month, and that's okay. but I would just like to know when it's been updated so that I can go back and see the new material. I want to see what the latest is, and if the date is always, September 16th on top, and then you have to read through and see if he's put up any new graphs or information having to do with anything later. And it's always something, which I think that's fine, but it's just a suggestion to you, Sam, if you're watching, and I think you are, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate your work. I refer to your blog post all the time, and it's just a wealth of information and documentation, and but just a suggestion that when you update it, your blog post, if you could just put a little note up at the top saying last updated such and such date, then we'd know. Then we'd know that, okay, we want to see the new information, and that would be helpful. Just a suggestion. That's what I would do. So here's the North Pole view. We can see the whole northern hemisphere here. We've got the UK and Ireland filling up. We've got all of Europe coming back to life down through the Mediterranean. We've got here's the Persian Gulf. Here's India. It's spilling out over the coastlines now. Here's China. It's spilling out somewhat over the coastlines. And considering we're at the highest methane readings we've ever had, this should look a lot worse. I'm positive they tweaked the algorithms back in January when they took the system down for 10 days. And when it came back up, it looked a lot different. I'm positive they tweaked it. They didn't change the color ledger, but everything looked different from when it ended in December. So, and they won't tell us. We're not part of the club. We're on the outside, and this is the best we can do. And just know that it's much worse than we ever thought. So here's North America. It's filling up here in Canada, south of the Hudson Bay. Alaska's filling up. It's got a lot of permafrost. They're getting rain now too. This is their rain season. Still high in California with the wildfires burning. It's high in the Pacific Northwest. I saw someone posted a comment saying, oh, it's high in the Pacific Northwest. Yes. The Seattle region is notoriously high with methane. But remember, we had the fires up in Oregon and Washington. Now a lot of those have been put out with the rain that they got this week, but the rain did not go far enough south to deal with the California fires. We needed rain further south, but it stopped right up here. It just stopped. Florida is high. It's traditionally high. We've got high readings in Texas and Mexico, all the way through Central America, and so on. Here's the global view. Here's this white spot popping up. Oh, a couple of them here in China. See, it's getting bigger. Watch near my arrow here. Watch. See, it's a couple of spots there. It's coming up on the coastline in Antarctica, still popping up. Of course, the sun's coming up down there. Someone left a comment asking that since we've reached minimum extent in the Arctic, am I going to start focusing on the Antarctic? Not quite yet. We're still able to see the clouds and the sea ice in the Antarctic. In the Arctic right now, and I'm really highly interested in watching that. I've started looking at the Antarctic and learning about the Thwaites Glacier, the Doomsday Glacier. That's an interesting thing. I'll be reporting on that. Pine Island. The ozone hole is awful, though, it's just covering the Antarctic. I will show that today. It is awful. We're in big trouble with the ozone. Okay, here's 500 HPA, and I will refresh this to get the correct color ledger. Whenever you change the HPAs, you have to refresh to get the color ledger that goes with it. And they still haven't fixed this. This is 1950 to 2360 parts per billion. That's what that they overlap. They could fix that. I know they could, but they're not watching. So it's highest here over eastern India, and now we're getting a lot of reds over the Arctic. As we're getting cooler air in the Arctic, methane likes to gather over the colder air, and we're getting some reds here in the Pacific, though. So again, considering we're at the highest readings we've ever been, it should look worse than this. I'm convinced it was tweaked. Absolutely convinced. But this is what we've got. Here's total column, and we'll refresh. And here's the color ledger, and this top reading is between 1920 and 2320 parts per billion. So this is the methane added up through all the layers from the surface all the way up. So we can see it's highest here in China. This is where we saw the white spots showing up, and here in India, and then the bright reds, and then the oranges, red, orange, and so on. So there's that. Let's move on with our slideshow. Okay, now this is a series of pictures that I took from CAMS today, and you can save these images. Just right click and do a save as. It's an easy way. This is North America today. This is carbon monoxide. Now notice it's really calmed down here on the west coast. Even though we have fires burning, it's not putting off the amount of toxins like it was. But we've got some new fires burning. The fires that have been burning up in northern Colorado and up in southern Wyoming. And this is the new hot spot right now, so very high readings in carbon monoxide. Here is, what is this? Formaldehyde. We're still seeing some pretty good readings over here in California from the fires, and up here in Canada there's a fire going. But here, this is off the chart. This is higher than what they can record. This again is the new fire, the new hotspot. This is nitrogen dioxide, and again, it's in that same area where the fires are burning. Here we have 2.5 ppm particulate matter, 2.5 micrometers, and we can see it's highest over from the California, the Creek fire, and there's another one burning over here now too. Also up here in Canada, here in Colorado, look here in Mexico, just south of the Big Bend area in Texas, and here in the Atlantic. Here is the 10 micrometers or micrometers particulate matter. Let's see, it's a lot higher in the tens. And you can inhale these and they can cause damage. I mean, this gets into lung tissue and can cause all kinds of asthma and respiratory problems and heart problems. And you know, people who are sensitive, even though the sky may be blue, I mean, you can't see this stuff. And I've been doing better by wearing an N95 with a cloth mask over it. Cloth mask. Can't talk. A cloth mask over it when I go out. And rather than just a cloth mask with a Kleenex inside, that's what I wear when I go, like, to the chiropractor, just the cloth mask with the Kleenex. And it's organic cotton, and I make my own. I hand make my own, just hand sew them. And those have worked out fine for going like to the chiropractor, or you know, to the dentist or something like that. But if I'm going outside and breathing the air outside for any length of time, now I'm wearing an N95, but I wear my cloth mask over it to kind of, well, it holds it. It's more comfortable. It holds it in place, more comfortable for me. I don't use their straps are too tight, and then I can adjust everything better. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm doing better. Look at this up in Canada. Look at this. We have fires over here in Utah, and these are hot spots. All of these are hot spots. Look down here in Baja. It's really high. And West Texas, and all of these. And this is left over in the smoke. All of this up here coming up across the U.S. That's left over. And look, it's gathered over the Atlantic too. And that's going across the Atlantic. It's going all the way across. It's going around the world. Here's the smoke from the fires right now, and so it's gone way down here in California. Now today the winds are from the east, so it's blowing everything to the east instead of to the west instead of to the east. But here it is from the new fire in Colorado, and see how it's streaming up across the Great Lakes and across Canada and this northeast, and it's also out here. And then look, Texas, you've got smoke. The south has smoke. That's where it's just come across from everything, and it's hanging around in the atmosphere. Here's the global view of the smoke from the fires. Now here's Russia. See, it's moving back out, it's filling back up, and here's some fires in China. Here's Africa, and see the smoke's moving out over the Atlantic, and here's South America. So, world's on fire. What can I say? Here's the total aerosols. So if you're having problems with allergies or dry eye or respiratory problems, this is why. It's a toxic world, and it's not getting better. Okay, here's the ozone hole over the Antarctic today. Now this is very worrisome. The sun is coming up there, and so it's time for this ozone hole to start shrinking down, but it looks like it's getting bigger. It's going way out past this tail, past the Western Peninsula, and all the way up to the tail of South America here. And everything in this black line is in the danger zone. It's 220. This purple blue is 200 to 220 parts per billion, and then it goes down. This one is what is this? 175 to 200. This one is 150 to 175. This one is 125 to 150. That's the dark blue, but we have some black areas. See the black? I can blow it up. That's the lowest reading on the chart, and that's between 100 and 125 Dobson units. And this is serious. I can't remember seeing it like this, and no one's talking about it. And granted, it's at the end of their winter down there, and the sun's just starting to come up and everything, but this is not good. This is just not good. So the sea ice, and they said that they had record sea ice extent this year. Well, they're going to need it, because that ozone hole is letting in all the radiation from the sun, and those glaciers are melting. The glaciers, they've already got melt ponds all over them. It's melting from underneath. It's a whole thing. It's just a whole thing. It's going to be awful. That's just not good. Here's the Arctic view, and here's the ozone thinning. This is another hole up here that we've had most of the summer. It closed up for a little while, and then it started coming back. Now the smoke will cause holes in the ozone layer, so this is why I'm thinking it keeps thinning. And see that little spot right there? That's where it's moving down into the purplish blue briefly. But here's the North Pole, here's Siberia coastline, and it's going down into the aqua, which the next color from there is that bluish purple, which is the one in the danger zone. But everything that's below the solid yellow is below normal. The solid yellow is 300 Dobson units. That's considered average or healthy. And then you've got the reds, but we can have ozone being created by pollution as well. We've got a lot of pollution from the fires, and so that can be creating some of this ozone. But the scientists don't care whether it's created from a good source or if the Earth is creating it naturally. They just say ozone is ozone and the thicker the better and this and that, but I don't know. I get discouraged. Here's the global view. So we've got a lot of thinning, we've got a lot of green. See, it's filling up from South America all the way through the United States, all the way across. We've got the blue-green here over the Atlantic. This is where that smoke is coming over, and it's going to be hitting you guys over here in the UK. Shortly, you're going to be getting our smoke. Sorry about that. But it's one world, one planet. It kind of tends to go everywhere. And we've got these thinnings popping up all over the place. It's not looking good. Here's sulfur dioxide today. This is total column for the global view. And we've got a hot spot here in North America with the fires. This is Popocatépetl in Mexico. We've got high readings still in Alaska. We've got some higher readings in China. Some of this for the fires, and some is from pollution. High reading in Kazakhstan. They have sulfur mining down there, and so that's from that. It's coming back. That went away for a while during the lockdowns, and then when it eased up, this popped back up. India, that's from pollution. Saudi Arabia, Iran, and so forth, that's from oil and things. Some of this is from up here in Russia, that's from the fires. Here it is at 500 HPA. Now this, I'll show this in detail in a moment. North America, that's really zoomed up just overnight. Here's the East Tropic view. Here's India, Africa, Middle East. Here's Kazakhstan. It's kind of smearing out. Here's China and the hot spot up here, just northwest of Korea there. Here it is at 500 HPA. Here's the West Tropic view. So we got North America, South America, Central America. Here's Hawaii. So this area here in the Pacific is kind of a leftover. We've been watching some high readings from the Panama region and off the coast of Ecuador, kind of releasing and moving out. And we've been seeing earthquakes around on this Cocos plate. So this is as a result of plate movement when we see the high readings down there. So here it is at 500 HPA. This is from volcanoes going off. There's a whole volcanic range on this west coast of South America down here. Here's Popo, and this is from the fires in North America. Here's the North America view. So we're still showing some pretty high readings down here in the LA region, and here it is streaming up from Popo, coming up all the way across the southern states in the US here. There's a higher reading here in Mexico, just west of South Texas. This is, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if there's a volcano there, a dormant volcano or what, but I've seen this is kind of a sulfur dioxide release off and on for a while now. But here we can pinpoint the sulfur dioxide here. The highest part is right here. This is in northern Colorado. That's at 500 HPA. This is 850 HPA, so this is a little bit closer to the surface, and we can see where the hot spots are. Then we've got fires. This is from, so you know, this might be from fires too, down here. Could be. Now we'll look at some earthquakes. I took these pictures this morning. There were 276 worldwide, all magnitudes on USGS, and we had some Arctic earthquakes up here, one in the middle of Iceland, one in the Greenland Sea. We had here in the Mediterranean, Greece was active. We had 5 point something here near the Cocos Plate. We've got activity all along the San Andreas fault line here on the Juan de Fuca Plate. We had a 5 something up here in the Aleutian Islands. We had a 5 something here on Japan, and then these are 4s. New Zealand got hit with a 5.1 on land on the North Island. I emailed Robin to see if he felt it. He didn't get back to me. I think he's busy. But here's this on the Juan de Fuca Plate. That was a new earthquake that came in when I took the pictures. Got a little activity up here in the Pacific Northwest, and a couple over here in the Yellowstone area. Here at Searles Valley Ridgecrest in Southern California, we have 30 today, so that's a larger number than we've seen for a few days. Here in western Nevada, over into Mammoth Lakes, from Tonopah over, there were 63. Now, of those, there were 25 that were kind of swarming here at Mammoth Lakes area. Now, this is part of a super caldera, the Long Valley super caldera. So we always got to watch. These are small, but you know, I perk up when I see stuff like this. Here in the Reno area are 3 earthquakes. There was a 1.5 up here at Pyramid Lake. There was a 1.1 at Truckee, a 2.4 at Challenge Brown, California. This is just southeast of the Oroville Dam, Oroville Reservoir. Here in Northern California, we're seeing 4. One of these is an overlap. This is the one at Oroville. So we've got a 1.7 up here at Petrolia. This is on the Fulcrum Point. We've got a 2.1 at Willits, 2.4 Challenge Brown, a 1.8 at Stony Gorge. Stony Gorge is right there, I think. Here is this 3.2 right in the middle of the Juan de Fuca Plate, off of Port Orford, Oregon. This came in at 10:25 this morning. Now here we're looking at Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Arizona. Here's Colorado. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Now, of note is this one in Arizona. We don't see them very often up here, but this is on the edge of the North American craton. So this is an unstable area, so we can see earthquakes here. So this was a 2.7 near Sawmill, Arizona. This came in at 10:38 p.m. last night. We had a 2.5 at Ackerley, Texas. This is northeast of Midland. That's oil drilling country. Oil country. This came in at 1:39 p.m. yesterday. Here in Oklahoma we've got 4, and the largest one was this 3.1 near Dover, Oklahoma. That came in at 7:20 last night. All these times I'm telling you are Pacific time. I've got this set to my time zone, Pacific time. Here we're looking at the eastern United States from the New Madrid area over to the coast. We've got 3 here in the New Madrid area. We've got 2 at Ridgely, Tennessee, a 2.2 and a 2.5, and a 1.8 at Steele, Missouri, right there. This is part of the New Madrid hazard zone. And then we've got 2 over here at Sparta, North Carolina, -0.3 and a -0.2 microquakes. That's still going. Here are the quakes in the North Atlantic, the Arctic. Here's this 4.7 right in the middle of Iceland, right on the red line. This came in yesterday at 5:06 p.m. And then we had a 4.6 up here in the Greenland Sea, and between Greenland and Svalbard. This came in at 3:02 this morning, right on the red line. Now we're looking, this is the Cocos Plate off the coast of Mexico and Central America. Here was this 5.3 at Mazahua, Guatemala at 2:40 this morning. 107 kilometers deep. There was also a 4.5 near Puerto Madero. Here's Alaska. There were 39 here, and that's kind of a low number. They average between 50 and 100 a day, so I always get a little concerned when I see a low number. It shows pressure building, but here is where we had some big ones. Here at Nikolsky, Alaska, there were 4, and the largest one was this 5.6. This came in at 9:12 last night. Then there was a 4.4, 4.2, and 4.6. This is in the Aleutian Island chain. Here we're looking at Japan. There was a 5.2 at Shinshiro, Japan. This was on land. This came in last night at 9:13 p.m. There was also a 4.7 to the east of Taiwan. The reporting station was Harara, Japan. Here we're looking at the South Pacific. There were 3 here was this 4.7 at New Zealand. I thought it was a 5.1. Maybe they downgraded it. 4.7 New Zealand, Eltham, New Zealand. Then a 4.9 Solomon Islands, and 4.2 Indonesia. This one was 209 kilometers deep. Here it is on land. They must have downgraded it. I thought this was a 5.1. I don't know why I thought that. Anyway, this came in at 8:47 p.m. last night, 35 kilometers deep. That would be big enough to feel. It could cause damage too. Wasn't that deep. Here we're looking at Greece, off the coast of Karis, Greece. We've got 6. Big one, 5.3 right here is the biggest one. So we had a 4.5. These started yesterday at 11:39 in the morning. Then the 5.3 came in at 3:50 in the afternoon. 4.3, 4.7, 4.1, and 4.5 came in at 9:05 this morning. So a lot of activity there. So those are all my pictures. Now let's move on. I wanted to show, I don't have Zoom Earth pulled up. Let's pull it up. I wanted to show the fires over this Colorado area, and these are toxic. I mean, you saw from the carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, nitrogen dioxide. This is toxic, what's coming out of these, and guess what? You're being beamed. When you see these ripples, this is beaming. You see the pattern. This is definitely beaming. So, this is, there could be something, some kind of toxic chemicals that were dropped. I don't know. But you're being beamed as well. We've got, you can see it, high beaming going on. This was at 8 a.m. Pacific time, which would have been 10 a.m. your time. No, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Look at that. And it's all the way across. It doesn't stop. You can see it. High beaming. And you have to have clouds to see the beaming, and I talk about this in my private videos quite a bit, but I normally don't point it out and talk about it on YouTube because I come under lots of attack, and I don't want to get the channel shut down. So I just wanted to show that there's something going on here. Here's Steamboat Springs, so there are fires to the east of Steamboat Springs and to the northeast. Here's Wyoming. Here's the state line, this white line. Here's Wyoming. So we've got some big fires here in Wyoming, and these are still burning west of Fort Collins. Now this has been burning for a while in the mountains there. But this is the Rocky Mountain Range going up. It's in the foothills, it looks like. So that's not good. And then they've got fires. Here's Utah. They've got fires in Utah. Between Salt Lake City and Vernal, or Vernal, however you say that. Near that ridge there. Why are we not seeing smoke though? If there are fires, why is there no smoke? You know, I don't understand. Whatever, you know, it is what it is. But when you look at this is interesting. When you turn on these fires, you've got fires all over. Look, here's fires down here in Mexico. You got fires down through Texas, Louisiana, up here, Arkansas. It's all the way through. So, I mean, the place is on fire. Just some places it's easier to manage than other places. Look, it's still burning up here in Washington. I guess the rain didn't get that far east to put that out. So this was at 8 a.m. So if we go forward, here's 9 a.m. Let's zoom in here. Well, you can still see the ripples. You kind of have to zoom in. See them down here. But these are big plumes, and this is all toxic. That's what was showing up on CAMS. This whole area is that toxic. It's deadly. So anyone to the east of this area, I recommend you stay in. If you've got an air cleaner, turn that on. Turn on the AC. Put it on recycle air on the inside. And if you have to go outside, wear an N95. And goggles to protect your eyes, or large sunglasses. But this is toxic smoke. And here it is at 10 a.m. Here's 11. See, it's still there. See, this is, you can now see the smoke. Here it is at noon. See the smoke coming out. It's mixing in with the clouds. So that's why it's kind of hard to see. It's deceptive, and when people can see, it's going all the way up. And this toxic stuff is coming your way. Great Lakes and the Northeast. It's coming your way. It's all part of that big thing. And see, it's coming up from Texas too. So it's mixing in. That's all toxic. Here's 1 p.m. Oh, look at this. You can see it now. See that? That's down by Pueblo, Colorado Springs. Here's 2 p.m. Here's 3 p.m. And it's starting to get darker now. 4 p.m. Oh wow, look at this. Look at all that. I didn't mean to get into this today, but I did. Then now it's dark where you are, but you can still see the clouds. Here are the fires. They show it better in the dark. So, just a heads up to everyone to the east of the Rocky Mountains there. It's 5:37 p.m. my time now. 5:10. That's the latest. That's what we've got right now. So, where was I? Okay, we gotta move on. Let's go. Oh, we're already at an hour. We got to do sea ice. Here's sea ice and snow cover for today from Climate Reanalyzer. We can see the air has grown back. The edges are coming out, and the tail is connecting with the main part of the sea ice. This area is coming back as well. As this is, it's still not real concentrated, but you know, it's something. So let's go back through. Here's last Sunday. Here's where we were last week. It was starting, the extent was starting to come back a little bit. Here was the 20th on my show last week, and here was the tail, and it was just starting to kind of make a little connection in there. So here is Monday, Tuesday. Now they had a problem with their model here on Tuesday, so all the different layers didn't come through. So that's you know, that's just what they had up. Here's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today. So we're seeing evidence of the extent coming back. Here's from the Navy, U.S. Navy sea ice thickness for today on the Arctic. I'm just zooming in so we can get a good view. So the North Pole is here. I've named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we ended with at the minimum with some thin sea ice in quadrants 1 and 2, thin and slushy, and quadrant 3, and the remnant of the thickest sea ice was here in quadrant 4. And we're starting to see a little sliver of aqua come back. That's coming back thicker around this north coast of Greenland here. Starting to get some dark blues, and it's just mainly thickening up, and we're starting to see it come up by the coastline. The pieces they're settling in. They've got to settle in for the winter. And here's what's left of the thickest multi-year sea ice, and it's kind of a weird shape. Instead of the egg shape, it's just a weird kind of jagged shape all the way around. And we can see some thicker ice starting to build up here. And you can see the light purple, where it's just a little skim, is starting to refreeze here in the Beaufort Sea and in these tributaries as well. And the extent is starting to come back out a little bit. Okay, here's the 30-day animation, 30-day model. The forecast goes forward a week from now to October the 4th. And the data starts on September the 5th. So let's zoom in and watch this go. Oops. So let's go back. Here's today. we are, 27th, and we're just going to click through slowly and see what happens this week. So this shape, and it's huddled up, kind of anchoring right onto this little part of the Canadian archipelago, and now it has been flowing out through these tributaries, and it's still shifting. And what you're going to see is this is kind of squishing down and getting elongated, kind of like in a rectangle shape rather than an egg shape. You'll see. So here we are today. Here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So here's where it ends. So see, it's a little bit narrower. It's just like shifting. I don't think we're losing any mass. I think it's just kind of shifting and settling, and some more thickening up, more aqua, and some thicker around this Greenland coastline, which we need, and just the extent starting to just come back a little bit. So there's that. Now, I had another thought. When you go outside, if you're in this smoke, after you've been out, when you come in, you want to shower, you want to get all cleaned off, you want to wash your clothes, put on clean clothes, shower, and flush out your sinuses, especially if you have allergies and stuff. And I have a neti pot, and I use a pre-mixed saline solution in the little packets, and just flush out your sinuses, and that will really help too. That helps with the breathing. So let's move on. Here's the National Snow and Ice Data Center. Here's for the daily sea ice extent. This is for yesterday. There's the extent. Here's concentration. Now the darker the blue, the less concentrated it is. The whiter it is, the more concentrated it is. So we can see, even though the extent is coming back, it's still quite thin. Here's their chart for sea ice extent for this year, and this dotted line is 2012, and this blue line is this year. So we were second lowest, barely. I mean, it's such a different ice. It's a different world. It's a different ice. And in 2012, the ice was really thick. What was left was really thick, and you see what's left now is less than 2 meters or less, and it's just a little bit. It's not that much. So here's their report. This is from in their news, Sea Ice News. This was posted September 21st. Arctic sea ice decline stalls out at second lowest minimum. On September 15th, Arctic sea ice likely reached its annual minimum extent of 3.74 million square kilometers, or 1.44 million square miles. The minimum ice extent is the second lowest in the 42-year-old satellite record, reinforcing the long-term downward trend in Arctic's ice extent. Sea ice extent will now begin its seasonal increase through autumn and winter. In the Antarctic, sea ice extent is now well above average and within the range of the 10 largest ice extents on record, underscoring its high year-to-year variability. The annual maximum for Antarctic sea ice typically occurs in late September or early October. And it says this is a preliminary announcement. Changing winds or late season melt could still reduce the Arctic ice extent, as happened in 2005 and 2010. Exactly. Their scientists will release a full analysis of the Arctic melt season and discuss the Antarctic winter sea ice growth in early October. So, here's what they've got so far. This is, let's see if this is, that's not any bigger. Let's just leave that. This light blue is what we've got this year, and the white area is what they had in 2012. So we had a lot of overlap. The big difference I see is the tail that we had that hung on in the Beaufort Sea. If we hadn't had that tail and this ear, we would have been lower. We would have been lower than 2012. And we had a little bit hanging on here in these tributaries. So that's the big difference that I see. So they've got a whole preliminary report, but since we're already at an hour and 17 minutes, I'm not going to go over it. When they put out the final report, we'll go over that. So now let's take a peek at NASA Worldview. Here's sea ice concentration. Now this is important. There's a storm. It's been snowing up here, and we've got low pressure, very low pressure system coming in over the North Pole, and so this is not very concentrated, and it's still breaking down. You can see it's into the yellows and the greens here, and now here's where it's refreezing and coming back out, where the tail is merging with the main part, and the thickest ice is settling in right along here, like we saw on the Navy model. Now it's got to settle in, it's got to set, and all the leads in between the pieces has to freeze so it doesn't slip out. So but we've still got a lot of melting going on where you see these reds. So let's go back to the 20th, last Sunday, and see how it's changed since last week, since our report. Here's where we were last Sunday. So here we go. Here was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now you see the wider areas, that's where it's getting more concentrated. Here's Friday. Now it's melting when it's not as concentrated, where it's melting. You see that. Here's Saturday, and here's today. So it's, it's in motion. It's not static. It's in motion. It's a work in progress. So we're going to keep watching this. We've got a little bit of refreeze coming back here in the Laptev Sea. Just here's a couple of purple and blue dots there. We need that. That's a good thing. And here's a little some aqua dots here in the Gulf of Ob. And that's about it. And it's starting to refreeze in these tributaries. And here around this northern coast of Greenland and on this east side, we can see that as well. So let's turn off that layer. Now see this big black dot? That's what we're not able to see now with the sun going down, and it'll get bigger and bigger real fast now. So I like to take advantage of looking at the ice as long as we can. Now this is at an angle, so we're going to have some unusual colors that we're not used to seeing, and shadows and things like that. So here's the sea ice along the coastline. You can see it's coming back closer. The pieces are being pushed up to the coastline. Now we've got a bunch of clouds. See, here's Ellesmere Island. We see that's all in clouds. It's been snowing, and so that's a good thing. We've had some colder air up here. Now here is here's part of that thicker ice. We can get a little view of that. See, here's the edge. See, that's a lot of open water there. See. That's where it's coming back. So it's got to settle in. So this is all cloudy here. See if we can see anything. No, not really. So here's the tail. We're looking through clouds, but it's just pieces. It was not concentrated at all, and they counted this whole thing as extent, which I thought was, I think they need a different way to count it. That's why you got to look at thickness and volume and the condition of the ice and whether it's slush or not. And when we saw the Mosaic ship just run right up to the North Pole without a problem, we knew something was up. So let's turn the ice back on. So the ear, here's the ear up here. Now here's a big cloud coming down. So we can't really see it. So here's this East Siberia Arctic shelf all underneath this area. in the water there. Let's see, where are we? I'm lost. Here's Severnae Zemlia. This is the area that we keep seeing that high methane coming up. And there's, you know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it. Oh, let's look at this Vovolov ice cap. Yeah, see, it's still pouring out. See you can see the ice pouring out still into the ocean. Now this needs to refreeze, so this ice cap will stop running off. Here's Noaa Zemlia. See, all of this is ice free still. It's these are all clouds we're seeing. Here's Svalbard. Here's Franz Josef Land. Now the earthquake happened right up here. One of them. One in the Greenland Sea. And Iceland is right here. So we had the earthquake here. Right in the middle. There's a big system that was around this southern coast of Greenland. Let's see. That's all we can see, really. So, let's move on. We'll just look at Climate Reanalyzer and then we'll finish up. So, here's the 2 meter temperature, maximum temperature. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to do that. I was moving my mouse cord. So we're getting some colder air over the sea ice, but a lot of warmer air is pushing down through it as well. Greenland has some colder air over the northern part. I'm going to focus on the Arctic, especially since I'm kind of running late here. Here's 2 meter temperature anomaly. We can see most of Russia is in the brown. We've got some reddish brown here. So that's like 10 to 15 C higher than normal. We've got really all the way across the Arctic is higher than normal now. And coming down across Canada and into the North America and Texas and the US and so on. So here's the flat view. Look at this brown is coming all the way down into these other countries as well. Africa, so on. So worldwide we're up 0.4 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 1.1 C and the Arctic is up 3 C higher than normal. Now they're forecasting it to go up to over 4 C higher than normal here in the next few days. So that's one reason we've got to really keep an eye on this sea ice. Here's precipitation and clouds. Now right now it's snowing over a lot of that sea ice. Here's the 10 meter wind speed, and so it's getting on up there, and this is in knots, it's getting on up into like the 18 to depending on, it's getting into the greens here, 18 to 20 knots here. Sea level pressure, we've got a big low pressure system here and a high pressure system to the west, and this low is 985 millibars, so that can be destructive. Let's see, jet stream, remember this is a new page that they put up to register higher winds. And we've got a a white background instead of a blue background. And I like it because we can see and they also added the highs and lows, and I like that. We can see the highs and lows here easier. And so we've got this 985 low pressure system right over the North Pole. And so that's what's tearing up that sea ice there. Here's this other one that's moving up the east coast of Greenland. It's at 996 right now. Got to see this jet stream. It's very wavy. It's broken. Already showed sea ice and snow cover. And here's sea surface temperature anomaly. They've updated it to yesterday, the 26th. We still have browns, reds, and pinks. So we're up to 6 C higher than normal in the pink area. But the pinks are going away. This is gradually cooling down. But it's going to take a little while for the water to cool down. There's the flat view. So worldwide we're up 0.4 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.8 C. The North Atlantic is up 0.7 C. The North Pacific is up 0.9 C. And I wish they would put a separate reading for the Arctic Ocean. You know, they need to do that. That's its own, that's a different environment and ecosystem and everything. So they just kind of lump it in with the northern hemisphere, because it's not the North Atlantic, it's not the North Pacific either. And if they did the Arctic by itself, the Arctic Ocean, it would be way up there, higher than normal. Seriously, that. Okay, let's finish up. Now I'm reading through the prophetic books of the Old Testament, and we're on Micah. We started on Micah this week, and so we'll continue tonight with Micah chapter 5. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been told of old from everlasting. Therefore will he give them up until the time that she which travaileth hath brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. And he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide. For now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. And this man shall be the peace, when the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces. Then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds, and 8 principal men. And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod in the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian, when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots. And I will cut off the cities of thy land, and throw down all thy strongholds. And I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee, and thou shalt no more worship the work of thine hands. And I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee, so will I destroy thy cities. And I will execute vengeance and anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. Micah chapter 5. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up there, and I'm praying for everyone. We're headed into dark days, very dark days, but there is the promise of the salvation by Jesus and God, and if you call on Him and repent and ask to be saved, you will be. The Bible says, whosoever calleth on the name of the Lord shall be saved and have salvation, right until the very end. So I just want you to remember that. So I do believe the end is near, and that's why I'm doing all of this reporting in these shows. And we're seeing the evidence of it day by day. So I love you all. I'm praying for everyone. So until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.